Hello, good
Hello,
day,
ma'am.
everyone. Yes, is your day good, Mr. Simpao?
Yes, yes,
Is it
yes,
good?
yes.
Yeah, I think, in
Love you,
fact, it is
mommy.
very. Oh, is that recorded?
Yes, yes.
I have a song. Itchy, 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 itchy. That's my new song for today. Because this morning, we're itching to share with you a topic, one of the most difficult topics to understand in philosophy, and many students have problems understanding it. That is, how is human person considered to be an embodied spirit? What is embodied spirit? Sir Chris. Sir
Mhm.
Chris, what is an embodied spirit?
Okay. The simplest definition of embodied spirit is the spirit becomes flesh. Okay. As our reference, it says here, embodied spirit. Embodied is always materialized or become flesh. So thus, then we say embodied spirit, we normally believe and conclude of a spirit becoming flesh. I think that is the simplest and shortest definition of embodied
Mm,
spirit.
I think it's timely that this topic is going to be discussed because Halloween is coming, and I think a lot of people are anticipating on having a celebration with their
What
loved ones who
what
already
is
passed away.
what is coming? Halloween?
Halloween,
Ah,
yes. Mhm.
yes.
And that concept is widely celebrated when in fact um, it has become it's not a practice for kids to wear costume and go around asking for a treat. So they do trick and treat. I think the concept behind it is somehow related to the embodied spirit, the idea of the embodied spirit. So when we think, based on your definition, when I imagine embodied spirit, I could imagine there is a spirit and then a body was put on it that makes an embodied spirit. So the main, the subject there is the spirit, which is described to have a body. Therefore, it is considered or referred to as an embodied spirit. How
Mm.
is, yeah, how is that similar to the concept of, I mean, before we go there, in the material that the students are using, Abella pointed several points in here. Uh, According to this material, embodied spirit is an animating core living within each of us. It is known to be the driving force behind what we actually think, do, and say. For me, it sounds like the spirit having being an animating core is the main idea or the main thing that lives within us. It's just like a person is made an instrument for a spirit to live on. That's what the embodied spirit, according to this material, this reading that we're having. What can you say about it?
Yes, they are looking the spirit in a different perspective. It seems that uh, spirit is different identity from the body. So there's the spirit, there's the body, there's the soul, and then the idea is uh, they can separate each other and still exist. I think that
Mhm.
is why there is this embodied spirit. And it says here, it is an animating core living within each of us. So pag For example, no, pag wala ka, nandyan pa rin yung spirit. Parang gano'n. So even though you're not here or there, the spirit is still there. That is
So they
why,
say, yeah, they say, excuse me, they say that the body will be gone or die, but the spirit lives on. And I could imagine tales from childhood. I could recall they say the spirit is just somewhere there, floating on it, or at times it could be transferred from one medium to another. Let's say a stone, flower, a butterfly, a tree.
mm,
Yeah. Yes, that's the concept of the embodied spirit, which the celebration of the Halloween is anchored on.
okay. So
How is
yes,
it, how is it similar or different, rather? How is it different from the biblical point of view? Is it embodied spirit? So there's the spirit first, and then came the body. It flows the spirit, or uh, how is it in biblical form? The story of creation, the time when God created them.
it is directly opposite or different from that. Biblical perspective says that when God created human being, first he formed body from the dust, or he formed, it says there, uh, the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, okay, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being. Okay, so you didn't hear the word spirit or soul, but if we look at the original language or the Hebrew language, which the Bible was written first, Aramaic and Hebrew. The breath of life, it says there, and God breathed into his nostrils the breath of life. That is the spirit of life from God. And the man became a living soul, that is. And the body, it is the dust of the ground. So the Bible concept is different. There's the body, God formed the body and put his breath, his spirit, or breath, the breath of life into that body. Unlike with this philosophy or ideas of different authors, there's the spirit, and then they put the body on it. Am I
So
right?
the for their concept, embodied spirit is the noun. Embodied is an adjective. It means a
Mhm.
spirit, a body, a spirit is there already, and then a body is put into it. So it is
Yes, yes.
described now as an embodied spirit. But you're saying that in biblical view, it's entirely different. It was because how God created Adam was out of the dust of the ground. They took the dust of the ground and then molded the figure of the man. And then later, or after doing that, he then gave through the nostrils of Adam the breath of life. So it was body first, and then the spirit or the life was put through the nostril.
Yes, God gives life.
So I could most probably could we say that of the biblical view is somehow a spirited body because there's the body first and then the spirit was put in, which entirely is opposite of an embodied spirit concept. Am I
Yes,
right?
yes. A very nice idea. Yes, brilliant idea. So there's the
Mm.
body, and then God put the spirit. While on the philosophy, there's the spirit, and then it was trapped by the body.
Mm. All right. And in this article, or material. uh, they quoted that Abella, a writer, um, mentioned several qualities that would suffice or that would make man an embodied spirit. And number one
Mhm.
here says self-awareness. And I think for this one, I would like to think it is right because I mean, I mean, as a man, ano, we should not agree on it because we've agreed already na the word embodied spirit is a twisted terminology.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because in the first place, uh, our education system, wherever we are now, the school, and the education system, it introduces a lot of ideas, thoughts, which is from time to time changes, and many times it contradicts to some biblical principles. So this is one of the example, the embodied spirit. It's not in line with the biblical principle. But the author says here, as a human person as embodied spirit, it has a self-awareness, which refers to person having a clear perception of oneself, including his or her thoughts, emotions, identity, and actions. This could be partly true. No? This could be partly true. Why? Our thoughts and our minds, no? It's because of sin. It's not fully capable of understanding and knowing ourselves.
so
That's what.
you're trying to discuss the qualities mentioned by Abella. But first and foremost, we'd like to clarify that the concept or idea of the embodied spirit is a wrong terminology if we would mean that it pertains to man, because man is not an embodied spirit, rather, man is a spirited body. I think
Yes,
that's
yes,
just my opinion. I don't know
yes.
how correct that is. So the theologians, our pastors, our what's that?
Priest,
Uh, yeah,
clergies.
and anyone practicing who's in the field on that field, I think they hold the capacity and the right to discuss more about it. So they're free to comment on our video. I mean, on this video, we are just merely discussing it based on our understanding as common human beings, normal human beings, teachers, that is, teaching philosophy. And when in fact we're not holding any degree, we don't have a formal study about it. So both of us. Okay. And another point I'd like to drive up here is that uh, at school, you said a while ago, teachers, we are responsible for anything or everything that we're teaching the students to concept, because it would appear to the child that whatever concept is being taught, it's something that should be believed or followed,
Yeah,
when actually the teacher is just merely discussing or presenting the idea or the philosophy of somebody, Mr. So and so.
yes,
But
yes,
yeah, if there is a failure from the teacher to give a warning that, hey students, this is just a concept of another person, it is
yes.
just presented to you for the sake of you knowing it, then most probably the students would be trapped into understanding that that is the reality. Let me
That's
point
right.
out,
That's right.
what do you think about the idea that in the school they are teaching the theory of evolution, that we come from monkeys? Look at
Yes.
this face. Did this come from the monkey? I don't. I sorry. I beg to disagree. Yeah, what's your idea about it?
So, so that is another example of uh, as a student, sometimes we were framed up. Parang na-frame up lang tayo, ano.
You mean to
What?
say, sorry, you mean to say that when you were a student also, you faced the same predicament you misunderstood what was taught to you in the classroom. Is that it?
Yes, yes. Because sometimes we are just, as a student, we are, how they call it, blank, no? Blanco.
You
Walang
are an
laman. And then,
empty
yes,
slate.
yes. And then you just go to school and then to be feeding up by those teachers or lessons or whatever it is they put inside our minds. And then there, we love communism for the communist country, and then we love democracy for
Mhm.
other places. Why? Because we were just framed up. Ganito yon, maganda yon, ganito, ganito. Same with this idea. Sabi nga doon ay galing sa unggoy. So pag tinuro mo yan sa estudyante mo na walang kamuang-muang, talaga uuwi yan na maniwala. Pag tinuro mo din na human person as an embodied spirit, and then blanco din yung isipan ng bata, same. You will just believe on something that is twisted.
Mm. Yeah, that's true. In addition to that, they also are teaching, or science is also teaching the theory that Earth uh, was, I mean, formed out of the sabot or
Big
explosion,
Bang.
and then there, yes, the Big Bang theory, and then from there, these planets were created.
So there are a lot of theories, which is, if you consider it, they are irrational,
Mhm,
illogical. It's just
mhm,
purely imagination, and then it
mhm,
was just supported by we can say that they consider themselves as scholars or learned people, and then they just put it in the book and then give
mhm,
it to different schools. Yeah, it's a good business, but
mhm,
the result is you're giving less value to human
mhm.
persons, to human beings, and you are discrediting your creator.
Yeah, that's true. Speaking about creator, so the life that was given to Adam, and then of course to us, eventually passed on to us, the life that is there, the owner of that is the Lord. So when it is uh, when a person dies, it does not linger nor move from one stone to another, to a tree, to a butterfly, a flower, to another person worse.
Yes, yes,
No, it doesn't do like that, or it doesn't happen like that. The reality is it goes back to the creator himself, because he owns
yes,
it. Us, much like I remember when when a person creates, or an inventor, say for instance, creates something. So whenever there's a problem, the one who is capable of fixing the problem would, of course, be the inventor or the creator. So
yes,
I think
yes,
it's the same. That's the same case as with us being created by God, and God is our creator. Therefore, the life that we have belongs to God.
yes. It says here, nowhere does the Bible speak of the soul as an immortal entity capable of living apart from our body. Neither does it speak of the spirit as an entity which can exist independent of our physical nature. We are not made of independent parts, temporarily connected, but of body, soul, and spirit is in one indivisible whole. Yes. So if you listen with these statements or concepts or ideas from the Bible, I think they are more reasonable than the idea of the spirit visiting places and visiting kamag-anak and
I hope that now, while we are having a discussion, your spirit is not visiting another person. Where could it be? Mine sometimes linger, but I don't mean the spirit, the breath of life that God has given. I don't mean that. rather I mean when I say my spirit is somewhere else, I mean my imagination, my thinking.
Yes,
That's what
that's
actually
true.
we're trying to say.
Mm.
So let us not misquote that when we say of spirit, we mean the breath of life that was given to God. It is simply our thoughts. And it
There,
does not separate. It does not separate from us because the one has the capacity to separate is God alone.
yes, there are some words which related or synonyms of the word spirit. For example, wind, breath, life principle, courage, vitality, strength, disposition, moral character. In the Bible, they were translated from the same Hebrew word, those words that I mentioned.
Mhm. Okay, and then one more point also mentioned in this module is the terminology transcendence. Um, there is an explanation here, and somehow I'm trying to accept this idea, only this part, this explanation. They say transcendence is one's capacity to go beyond the limit. So practically, when I put it in a practical sense, I could uh, imagine an individual who is disabled, let's say a person without a leg, without an arm, let's say he is not capable of feeding himself, even though, I mean, that disability is the person's limit.
Mm.
So instead of being trapped in that situation and forever, the person will just, you know, cry or be sad about what how he was created because it's an inborn problem. Uh, Losing the idea of transcendence would mean the person would find ways on how to function like human beings with complete set of arms and say for instance use the legs instead of the arms for eating, or
Yes,
devise a way on how to eat using the elbow. That actually is transcendence.
its ability to surpass your limits.
Yes, that's what they say. um
So, so by
it's
developing your skills or developing your body, developing your mind,
Mhm,
so because it says also that uh, God created human beings
mhm,
in His image, in His likeness. So somehow, in one way or another, we could develop something from us,
mhm.
which is really, uh, capable of something na mataas, no, kaysa ating mga
Yes,
kaya.
of course. Um, I would like to uh, deal more on the idea of transcendence because one student, or most probably in the past, um, this idea of transcendence for some would mean the spirit coming out of the body and transcending, like a movement of the spirit from out of the body. So let's say physically I am here, but mentally I could be in another place. Let's say I am in Boracay. I'm I'm enjoying my time in there. While physically I'm here, my spirit is there. So they say uh, at times that could happen. But in reality, uh, that idea of transcendence is not acceptable.
Yes,
The
yes,
idea of transcendence referring to your ability to surpass your limits physically or in whatever situation, then I think that is agreeable.
yes. So the different idea, the one you mentioned is practical, no, and reasonable. And yes, well, the other one, the one you mentioned about the spirit that it will go and visit somewhere, if that's the idea of a philosophy, human transcendence, I think still not in line from what the Bible is telling us. That is,
Mhm,
if you just think over and over about that, it seems
mhm,
that it is like a evil inspired
mhm,
idea. Yes, it's so dangerous. Why?
mhm,
If this body dies
Mm.
and then my spirit is still alive,
Mhm.
so it could visit somewhere.
Mm.
Why? My spirit doesn't like me. You'll just leave me alone. Or, or if that's the case, if our body dies and then our spirit is still alive,
Mm.
I think as a philosopher, it's better to die
Mm.
all of the people, and
Mm.
then you cannot feel the pain, you cannot feel the struggles and problems in this world. But that is
Mm.
not God's what can I say, design for human being. That is not God's
Uh,
design.
it makes me think of a famous song being taught in for kids in the Sabbath school, when in fact a lot of kids and teachers use it because it's a fun song. You know what the song says? If I were a butterfly, I thank you, Lord, for giving me wings. I think that is the concept of embodied spirit.
Parang,
Yes?
parang, parang ano no, hindi siya maganda pag i-connect
Uh,
dito sa ganitong idea, no?
uh,
Yes, yes. It's because we all know that animals, insects, they're different. And because I think that song also, it's a product, okay? It's a product of the idea that, scientists or scholars or whatever they call themselves, they make a group or strata, or how do they call that? Uh, tayo ay nabilong sa animal kingdom, ito naman ay
mm,
nabilong sa mga
mm.
plant kingdom, mga ganon, may kingdom. So the idea there
Yeah,
is,
yeah,
since we
go ahead.
belong to animal kingdom, so we're animals.
Mm,
But in God's creation, animals is really different. Human
mm.
beings are different because we were created in the likeness and the image of God. So
Okay. Yeah, that's nice that we're given the chance to discuss it, and we've settled on the differences because we ourselves we're quite confused as to how we're going to present this idea, since a lot of students are having misconceptions about it. Even us teachers, when we teach in the
yes,
school, we are not clarifying which is which, when in fact what we're simply doing is just presenting not our idea, it is the writer's idea or it is the philosopher's idea, but it appears and sounds like it is ours. That is entirely misleading. So before teaching or presenting ideas that are sensitive, we should at least tell the students that this is just for the sake of you knowing it. For your knowledge, Mr. So and so or philosopher so and so said like this and like that and like that. And then the students are free to choose, as long as they've understood well, they're free to choose which one to believe in. They can decide. But eventually, if the message is conveyed correct, they will 100%, right? That's my belief, 100% they will choose the right concept. If
yes,
and only if the concept is presented in a correct manner.
yes. This philosophy will go farther.
Mm.
It will arrive in the idea that what we call now is immortality of the soul.
Mm.
Yeah. So because many people are being taught, or how the word taught is, yung kaluluwa ay hindi namamatay.
Mm.
That's the idea. That is still the product of this human person as an embodied spirit, or it's still the product of lies. Lies ng kasinungalingan. Yes.
So it's but safe to say each one of us would just put our trust in God. You cannot just trust your
Yourselves.
classmate, your teacher, your neighbor, not even
That's
yourself.
yes,
Yes, for
yes,
we
that's
should
right.
just fully trust our Creator
Yes,
because He is the one who created us and knows us inside out. I think,
Yes.
yeah, anything more to say? So we could invite our listeners, our watchers to subscribe.
Yes. If you think this video is inappropriate, no, what I mean, if this video is, you have something to say, to correct, or to comment, yes, just comment, and it's better to subscribe so that you can watch more videos, and like, share.
And what they can do is they can even suggest topics that they would like for us to discuss, and of course we'll discuss it in such a manner that we're just capable of doing based on our understanding, uh, human beings as we are. So I think it's nice to hear from people like us who does not hold the master in philosophy or a degree in philosophy, how it is, what is our take on topics like this, knowing that we're teaching philosophy in class.
Yes, maybe if you're a lawyer, if you're a pastors, if you're a doctors in philosophy or whatever it is, teachers, students, yeah, just comment, watch it, comment, and this channel ideas. Okay, I will introduce to you the channel ideas, IDEAs, which an acronym for inquiries, discussion, and educational arguments in society. So come and join us.
For me personally, I would really love to hear from somebody holding a doctor's degree in philosophy to explain this matter to us, because this is just how we understand it. If you don't have
Because
anything, yes,
maybe
go ahead.
my final say is human person as an embodied spirit is entirely unbiblical. And as I look at it, it's irrational
Mm.
and illogical. Yeah, there are a lot of practical reasons uh, which could disprove that idea.
For me, my final takeaway is that we as teachers, we are capable of molding the minds of the young people. So before we convey any message to them, to know uh, we have to know that whatever we say, it would affect them. So let's not forget to tell them that these concepts are just but concepts of Mr. So and so, and let them understand and choose like for themselves which one to believe in. Because eventually, if the teacher was able to correctly discuss the idea, the student will eventually see that this idea, the biblical idea or the biblical view, is something that they should embrace, and that misconceptions will no longer occur. Um, Halloween is a well celebrated, uh, what's that, celebration. Children love it. Uh, there's no question about the fun that they get out of it, but they should understand the concept behind. That's all for today. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. See you next.
Yes, subscribe. There. Where? Here. Here down. Okay, bye bye. Thank you.